Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Another episode of the Closet Wine series. Today we're making Ocean Spray Cran-Grape wine. It's a very simple recipe. All you need is a 3-quart jug of Cran-Grape, some sugar, some yeast, and some thyme. So join me and I'll show you how we'll make it. So today I'm using a 3-liter bottle of Ocean Spray Cran-Grape. This is a little over 3 quarts of juice. And it don't really matter if you use Ocean Spray or store brand. Just make sure in the ingredients that you don't see any sulfites or sulfates or any sorbates. This does have some acids, citric acid, sodium citrate, and ascorbic acid. That's fine. You like a little bit of acidity to your wine anyway, so that's going to keep us from having to use this acid blend. I typically do, like Papa's recipe, a cup of sugar to a quart of juice. That's usually ends up pretty well, and that works out well if you like a semi-sweet to a dry wine using wine yeast. Today I'm using Loudoun 71B because I've got a bunch of this stuff, and I have yet for this to go dry on me, but this batch may be the batch it does. We'll see. Also some just cane sugar. I'm also going to use some wine tannin just for the mouth feel. You can buy this on Amazon. Some yeast nutrient, you can use this or fermented O. Some optional equipment, of course, be a hydrometer and a graduated cylinder. This allows you to measure your alcohol content or calculate your alcohol content based on specific gravity readings. And so you also will need some way of sanitizing all this. So I'm using Star San. It's over here in the sink. All this is already, this jar has been sanitized. The hydrometer and graduated cylinder has been sanitized. I don't typically sanitize my measuring cup for my sugar. It stays in the sugar all the time. So I'm doubtful I haven't had any issues with it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to add 3 cups of sugar to this jar. And then we're going to pour this juice, about half this juice on there and stir it up until it's mixed well. You could also put 3 quarts of sugar and some juice on the stove, heat it up till it dissolves the sugar good, and then pour it in here, and then you got to let it cool down. I don't go for all that. So let's get us some sugar in here, 3 cups. This measuring cup I've got is a 1/4 cup, so we're going to need bunch. And there's 2.5, and I'm thinking this has got a lot of added sugar to it. So we probably want to probably want to test this first to see. I've never used this, so let's test the specific gravity of this juice to see how much the gravity actually is. It smells good. Alright, so let me get my spectacles. Because if you go adding a bunch of sugar, it might be way too high. Alright, this is not bad. This is about 1.045. 1.045. Okay, we can definitely get by with 3 cups of sugar in that. That's 2.5. And there's 3. Alright, done with the sugars. Now, of course, if you're measuring with the hydrometer, and I know, I'm just assuming that a lot of folks already know how to use a hydrometer. There's videos out there on how to use a hydrometer. I would suggest if you want to know, if you don't know, you can find out how. But basically, with a hydrometer, I'm looking for a reading of about 1.125 or 1.130 specific gravity. That way, if this don't go all the way dry, if it stops at like 1.02 or 2.5, I've still got a good 13–14% alcohol. If it goes completely dry, it's going to be a lot higher. But this 71B typically doesn't go past about 13 or 14, but you never know. I'm gonna stir this up, and you want to oxygenate your juice to start with, so don't be real kind to it. Stir it up real good. If you have to add more juice, that's fine too. You can probably get so much sugar in here, we'll probably have to add about that much. You can get this fermenter on Amazon. It comes in a 2-pack with the lids that's drilled for a airlock, and some of them even come with airlocks already. So I don't have a account, or I don't have a with Amazon. So I typically don't post Amazon links. So as we can see, this is pretty clear. I think all the sugar has been dissolved. Now we want to take another hydrometer reading. So I've got to get a turkey baster, which I did not put in the thing. Alright, so I slacked off a little bit. I forgot about the turkey baster. So I just took it out of the sanitizer, so it's good and wet. Alright, so you can see this thing's standing way up here now. Throw this back in here. Alright, so now we're looking at 1.10. I'm still a little bit shy. I'm at 1.110. 1.110. I would like to have it a little bit more, because I don't want this to go dry. I like my wine a little on the sweet side of this. I don't want it super sweet. So if you're using anything but wine yeast, don't put as much sugar in this thing. If you don't use this, if you use bread yeast, it's going to probably, with 1.110, it's probably going to go down to about 1080, 1.080 or 1.070, and that's probably all it's going to do. So it's going to be super sweet. So you don't want that much sugar if you're doing that. I think I'm going to leave it like that. I may have to stabilize and back sweeten it once we get done, if it goes dry. Like I said, I've never had 71B go dry. So we'll see. This will be a good experiment. We'll tell about 3 weeks whether it's going to go dry or not. So, alright, next I'm going to put a teaspoon of tannin. A teaspoon or half a teaspoon. Let's see, it's a half a teaspoon of tannin. I think it's a half a teaspoon per gallon. So it's probably not even a half teaspoon, because this is only 3 quarts. The tannin's good. I mean, there's probably a little bit of tannin in this grape, natural tannins. But for mouthfeel, you're gonna want a little bit of tannin. It's not gonna taste. To me, it don't taste like wine without some tannin in it. And you can. Some people use black tea. I'm gonna put about a half a teaspoon of wine yeast in here. I mean a yeast nutrient. A little bit of a heaping teaspoon. I'm gonna stir that up, and this tannin's gonna stick. It'll stick to everything, so just be aware that it sticks. I'm not sure what they use to make that tannin. It didn't stick too bad. Alright, so now we're going to pitcher of yeast. Now typically you can get by with a half a pack for a gallon, less than 3 gallons. But since I'm not saving this, I've got a bunch of it. I'm just gonna dump it. The last thing we need is our airlock and lid. You can leave the airlock off until the fermentation is complete, because you will create enough CO2 to keep the air out of your jar. But I like to keep it on just in case you get bugs or whatever. So the last thing I want to do is make some notes. And so in a few weeks, once this is done fermenting, we're going to stick it in a dark closet. We'll come back and we'll take another gravity reading, and then we'll know how much alcohol content is in this and whether it's dry or not. And then we'll wait another week and take another reading to make sure it's done. If it's 1.00 or less, I'm gonna say it's done. We'll go ahead and stabilize it at that point and back sweeten. But if it ain't, then we'll wait. So I'll bring you back in a couple of weeks. All right, so it's been about 12 hours, and the B71, it wasn't doing anything. I didn't video it, but I took it out and I put some Red Star Classique yeast in here. So we will give it time to see what it does. I did make some mead after this one, and you can say, well, it's working. This was QA23 though. So, but this one, wished I'd got a video of it, but it was absolutely no bubbles. You can see the airlocks. Let's see. Well, I can actually see this airlock now is looking good. It was even at the line. This one's about to start bubbling. So I think that yeast was dead. It's a shame because it wasn't but about 4 months old. All right, well, it's been about a day and a half later. I finally got around to checking it, and it looks like we had a little eruption. So I guess I'll get that cleaned up and replaced. All right, guys, it's been about 8 days. Let's see, still going good. Good foam layer on top. I'm starting to see a little bit of leaves down at the bottom. All right, everybody, it's been about it's been a little over a month. So we started this on 8/12. Today is 9/15. I do see quite a few little bugs in the airlock, which is a good thing. You definitely want to use Star Sand or some kind of like vodka or some other liquor in this. Don't just use plain water. Don't use anything that you don't want to drink, because it possibly could get sucked over. But plain water may not kill these little fruit flies or whatever. They will get through this opening right here. These little teeny tiny holes in the top of this, and they got through it. So this thing has been real slow to finish fermenting, but I just let it go. And sometimes it takes 3 or 4 weeks. So it's been, like I said, it's been a little while. I don't smell any untoward flavors, scents. It smells like grape juice. So just to refresh my memory, because I know y'all just watched it, we had issues with 71B. For some reason, it didn't get started. And I possibly could have left it longer than 12 hours, but I've never had a yeast not start something in 12 hours. This thing was just pure, no bubbles, no activity whatsoever. So in that case, I'm just saying the yeast is dead. I dumped another packet in there. I don't even write it down. You know what it is. And so it went fermenting, and it boiled over. So I cleaned it up, put, got the top back on it, and so just let it go, And you just want to let the stuff go until it pretty much quits any kind of activity, even though it's still maintained a positive pressure on the jar, which is surprising. Usually it will equalize once everything's done, but this maintained positive. So first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna get a sample so we'll know if it's gone completely dry. I kind of suspect this is gonna go completely dry. We started out with a 1.110, which if it went to 1.0, you'd be about 13.5%. I kind of figure it's going to go a little bit less than 1. The last one I did went to 0.990. It's a pretty pink color. It's not clear, but you don't really expect it to be clear in primary. Ooh, I didn't mean to put so much air in it. Well, I don't think it went completely dry. Ooh, shoot. No, not completely dry at all. Surprisingly, it didn't even go to 1. Let me put this back on. We still got little gnats and flies, fruit flies in here. So if we're looking at so right now we're at 1.025. 1.025, which would be a good little sweet wine. So let's take a little taste of this. It's definitely not clear. It's got a rich cup, but I had peanut butter meat in it. In that cup now, all I taste is peanut butter. Y'all may have seen that video, probably see that one before this one, peanut butter meat. But it's kind of going concurrently here in the household. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty daggone good. So, what is that ABV? And I'm going to say it's probably going to be done. I'm not going to stabilize or nothing. We'll just rack it and then we'll check it when we get ready to bottle it. And if it's still 1.025, then we'll know, hey, it's done. Because sometimes this yeast can only go so much. So 1.110 minus 1.025 times 31.25. That's about 11% right now. I would expect to get at least 13 out of it, but it is what it is. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and rack this over to secondary. Get it off this bed of leaves here. I'm just going to put it back in the same style fermenter, and actually I think what I'm going to do is just dump the rest of this into there too. I usually don't have any issues going from this same. Now if you was going to expect to waste a lot, then you might want to go to a smaller, like a Carlo Rossi 3 liter. Oh yeah, she is definitely not clear. You don't really want to make a big lot of splashing. There's going to be some air in it. A lot of this that's not clear is because of air. Air's in, not air, but CO2's entrained in this. And if I stirred this like I should have, shook it a little bit every day for a little while, got all this air out, it probably would have went dry. But I've never used this particular juice before. It's, ocean spray. I've never used ocean spray before. Welch's will go dry. I know it will. But it's just, there's nothing in Welch's hardly at all besides juice. I'm thinking this might have had something that something in it that the yeast had a hard time getting past. Yeah, so that's about it on the primer. Let me see, we got a little bit of headspace, but that ain't real bad. So now I'm gonna get a cap on this pretty quick. And I always put an airlock on the secondary as well. Because we don't know for sure that this is done fermenting. It could continue fermenting. And I'll show you the CO2 in training here. I'll get this cap on. We'll shake it around a little bit and you'll see it go to bubbling. See all that's CO2 being released right there. So we've already pushed a lot of oxygen out of this vessel. So, all right, we're gonna put it back on the shelf and we're gonna let it sit for a couple more weeks. Let it clear up as much as it will. It may not. I got some stuff I can put in it to make it clear. I don't think I'm going to because I like it. I mean, it don't bother me being a little bit hazy. It will clear up a whole lot more than it is right now, though, I can tell you that. And then we'll bring it back and we'll get ready to bottle it. All right, everybody, it is October the 7th, exactly 3 weeks and 1 day from the time we racked this. You can see how crystal clear it looks. That is clear. So now we're gonna get ready to bottle it. I've got two 1,500 milliliter wine bottles here. This wine you really don't want to put up and say this is drinking wine. All right, so just use some old wine bottles if you got some. You can use number 8 or number 9 corks with it if you got a cork. If you keep the screw top, just use the screw top. I threw a screw top away, so I'm gonna have to cork these. First thing I want to do is take another gravity reading and see if anything's changed. It was 1.025 when we racked it. 1.025 is going to be kind of sweet, on the sweet side, so you might want to tone down the sugar a little bit if you don't like it real sweet. And it is 1.025. So I'm going to save that for a sample here in a minute. And we'll set this up. If you watched any of my previous videos, you've seen how we bottle. It's basically just taking a rack and one with a bottling cane. Alright, so we're going to have a rack and one. The tubing that was normally used to rack with, and a bottling cane here. I won't drop everything. And since this doesn't have too bad, I'm going to leave the cap on my racking cane, and I'm just going to, you got to set this in here and push down on it. Grab this about halfway. Just use your fingers. It would help to have somebody. You got to push down and this is one reason sometimes I like to use that picture. That's just a good one. Again, we're going to go all the way up in the neck here. And then when we take it out, we're going to be right at the bottom of the neck. That's where you want it. You want to leave a little bit of head space in here. All right, we'll go ahead and cork these. I got a corker I got off Amazon, some number 8 corks. I had these soaking in my sanitizer solution. This is just the cheap version of the corks. They make a tabletop version. It's a little easier, I would expect. I've never used one. It does help to lubricate these corks with that sanitizer fluids. I would suggest doing that. So how much we had left over? A little bit at least in the bottom, not much. Alright, here it is, y'all. So clarity, hold it up to the light, it is clear. I would say at least a 9 out of 10 on clarity. It smells like cran-grape juice. I put a little too much tannin in here. I had a half teaspoon tannin. quarter teaspoon per gallon is what they call for. Don't add a half. It's pretty tannic. It's got the astringency, but you really a little more than I wanted. I didn't add any acid blend to it. It probably could stand a little bit of acid to wake it up a little bit. Other than that, it's sweet. I mean, it ain't overly sweet. You could probably put some fruit in here and a little bit of something, maybe a little more sugar, some fruit, and have a sangria if you wanted to. Overall, 0 out of 10. I'd say this is about a 7.5 to 8. If I'd put that less tannin in there, it'd probably be a 9. It's very, very drinkable. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please rate, comment, subscribe if you haven't, and stay tuned for more.